Basically, what he claimed is, listen, I didn't sexually assault her, but through the things he was saying, he was definitely not making a good case for himself, especially to the audience. I mean, he was saying things like, oh no, I mean, I definitely pressured her for sex. I mean, that's the only reason I had her around. I would definitely give her drugs to like make her easier to like stuff like that. Why are you defending a pedophile? Why are you defending a
Here's a
rapist
question.
when there's no evidence of that?
Have you actually covered controversial figures before?
Just give it up. You're f***ed. You know that, right? Like that dude there is no hope for you ever. There was a big hit piece on Dr. K. And this, this could be a whole
Isn't this
video
like
for
the
you.
third hit piece on Dr. K?
Yeah, but this is one that's credible because it's coming from another
a
YouTube.
hit piece? What do you want?
Why so angry? I'm a nice guy.
They're the ones I hate the most. What's up?
I came with some content, dude. So I wanted to ask some advice from you. As somebody who deals with similar problems a lot regarding mischaracterizations and stuff like that online, because I'm going through an arc right now where I feel that I'm being greatly mischaracterized, and I'm trying to deal with it, but I don't really know how. I don't really know how to do this. So here's the situation. What do you know about the Twomad drama? I know you had him on Kick or Keep once or twice. What do you know about that?
Hold on. I'm gonna give you this is what I know about it, which is basically nothing. It seems like he was accused of like raping a girl, I think, or if not rape, like very close to it, and that initially it seemed like there wasn't great evidence maybe, and then he memed about it, but then it seems like there was really good evidence, so he thought he could keep memeing about it, and that it feels like, I don't know if there was a lawsuit against him or just multiple creators were like closing in, and as the pressure mounted, he became increasingly schizo, and then eventually he killed himself. That's about all I know.
So that's a decent summary. I can go a little more in detail. So essentially, Twomad, super funny, talented guy. A few years ago, he was killing it on YouTube. Easily one of the biggest people in like the gaming commentary space. He wasn't really a commentary YouTuber. He was friends with a lot of big commentary channels. He was friendly with like PewDiePie. He was getting featured on his channel. There's a PewDiePie video that features him as like one of the main memes. They got 28 million views. He was a super successful dude in that regard. But he was also kind of a quirky guy. People would often talk about how offline it was difficult even to talk to him, because in his videos he was a very like he had a very schizophrenic way of communicating. So he would often just like communicate in memes and random references, and just like you know the way that I am with like the skibbity stuff. Like he is that way all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to him an okay amount offline, and it is really hard to tell when he's ever being serious, like ever. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
it's like I think people say about Sam Hyde is like, oh, it's so hard to tell when he's being serious. I find it easy to tell when he's being serious. With Twomad, it was like always a bit. It was always a bit.
Yeah.
And it was hard to get a real moment. Sometimes you would get that, but it was tough.
Sure. And Sam Hyde, when he's joking, it seems to be there's either a comedic purpose or he's just like hyper exaggerating something else for an effect. Whereas Twomad seems to legitimately be like random and schizo, like it's totally on. Yeah.
I mean, the thing with Sam, I think, is there's an intention to his humor, especially with a lot of the older stuff. I think he was communicating his, at the time, pretty far right political beliefs, basically. Sure. And I think that was
only
the
gotten
intention
farther,
of a lot of that older
right?
stuff.
Go ahead, yeah.
Well, if you watch some of the old stuff, you'll understand. Back then, it was just look at the Night of Fire Twitter account. There was some stuff on there, but not trying to get too deep into that. Not trying to call anyone out. Regardless of that situation, with Twomad, it was like it didn't seem to be any intention behind the humor. It was just fucking schizophrenic, right? It was just like nothing.
Yeah.
And eventually he stopped uploading. People didn't really know why he had stopped uploading. And I had this conversation with him because I didn't really know him, but I had talked to him like a few times randomly just because we're peers. And I had a private call with him like a month before the allegations came out, maybe a month and a half, where I was like, hey, what are you doing? I see you're not uploading. Like, it's kind of upsetting to see this happening. And he was like, oh, well, I'm just kind of depressed over this girl. I broke up with this girl, and it really upset me. And at the time, I couldn't have understood what that meant. But then he was on Twitter and he was trying to piss people off. He was constantly trying to piss people off because he found it funny, and he would resort to saying literally anything. So like one thing he did was some person had drawn artwork of some like Sonic the Hedgehog fucking character. I think it was a Rouge the Bat or something, and he took it and he put a mustache over their signature and he tweeted it out saying, "This is my art."
Okay.
So obviously the artist, who doesn't really know who he is, they're like, "What the fuck? Why are you stealing my art?" All the people are like, "You're washed up. You're a loser. You're just trying to get attention." And he then repeated this behavior over and over again. And then one day he did it with Brianna Gay, who was I think 16-year-old trans girl who was brutally murdered, supposedly because of her trans identity. In England. And so he tweeted out a picture of her and he said, "This is my girlfriend." So obviously because she was 16 and because she was trans and had died, a lot of people were like, one, you're a pedo. Two, why would you make fun of this girl? He claimed he didn't know who he was. He didn't know who she was. I think he knew, because why would he single out that fucking girl? I think he knew and wanted to get attention, to get people angry at him, right? Because that's what he liked most of all. He loved people being mad at him above, like, at any cost. Like, he didn't care to be liked really at this point. But that same day, then this girl named Goldie Bell, Isabella, she comes out and she says that she had a bunch of experiences with him. She says that he sexually assaulted her. He's a nut job. And that basically sparked a lawsuit that she filed against him. Now, it was a lawsuit. My understanding is that any legal proceeding technically is a lawsuit. But typically we use lawsuit to mean when you're seeking like money in civil court, rather than, the government filing a lawsuit against someone to put them in jail, right?
Okay. I feel like when you hear lawsuit, these are very layman's. I don't know if there's like official dictionary, but like a lawsuit usually feels like a civil thing. And when somebody talks about the criminal stuff, they call it like a case. Like you got a case. There's a case against them. Yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And this was a civil thing, but it was over. What she was alleging was criminal activity, but she wanted, I think it was up to $25,000 she would have accepted. So it's not a ton of money in terms of how much money he has or compensation for something like that. And also she wanted a restraining order was the real thing. She wanted a 3-year-long restraining order. Okay. So the case happens. Basically, Twomad starts tweeting about it incessantly. She was granted a temporary restraining order, which it seemed like he was violating by continuing to tweet about her and contact her and reference her and say...
Because restraining orders oftentimes preclude you from contacting the person or talking about them in a public manner, yeah.
And he kept talking about her consistently. He wouldn't stop. So Gokanaru, who I think won one of the last episodes of Kick or Keep, we were streaming randomly. We were just talking about Twomad, and then he pops up in chat. He's like, let me in. So we invite him in. He starts talking about the situation. Basically, what he claimed is, listen, I didn't sexually assault her, but through the things he was saying, he was definitely not making a good case for himself, especially to the audience. I mean, he was saying things like, oh no, I mean, I definitely pressured her for sex. I mean, that's the only reason I had her around. I would definitely give her drugs to like make her easier to fuck, like stuff like that, right? He would say things like that. It was a very bad showing. I don't think he convinced almost anyone that he didn't sexually assault this girl. But he did shed some light and give some interesting details. Like he claimed that they were dating. He claimed that the reason they got in contact in the first place was over prostitution. He claimed that he was paying her for head, basically, and sex, which, according to DMs that he released, seems to be likely the case. Allegedly, whatever. So that happened. He mentally spiraled. People were, they hated him because he made fun of the trans person or whatever. And he never really recovered any of his reputation whatsoever. And eventually, he was on Kanklemore streams talking about his drug use and how he was taking Mexican Xanax called Pharmapram, which is often laced, or not even laced, I shouldn't say. It's made with fentanyl because fentanyl is cheap, right? And so he was taking these drugs. He was supposedly doing DMT, meth. He was smoking weed. He was taking a bunch of Adderall. He was really taking anything he could get his hands on. And we don't know that he overdosed officially. The coroner's report is not released. We don't know. We may not know for a while. But he died, and it's assumed it was of an overdose, basically. And I think that's probably what happened, based on everything that we know.
When you say based on an overdose, you mean not like he didn't like intentionally overdose, he just died doing drugs, right?
It seems that way, yeah.
Okay.
It seems that way. But also, it seems like he didn't care about his life to the point that he was almost just trying, anything.
Sure. So like a guy who's like spiraling, like addicted to drugs, starts going crazy.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So the day he died, a bunch of people on Twitter were basically celebrating it because, you know, they said he was a transphobe or whatever. He was a mean person. They said he sexually assaulted this girl. As for the sexual assault claim, that's not even something that I want to really argue with people on because I wasn't there. And while I don't know 1000% what happened, it seems plausible that something could have happened in that situation, considering he said he didn't even have a proper memory of that night. He said he was on ketamine all the time. He said things that make it seem like he could be in a position to do that to her. So for her basic story, I almost believe it. You know, it wouldn't be totally shocking to me.
Almost. Okay, gotcha.
If something bad there happened, it wouldn't. I don't know that something bad happened, so, you know, whatever. Okay. That same day, this guy comes out called Jameski on Twitter. Now, James was somebody who had a long-standing beef with Twomad from years ago. They were peers. They were gaming content creators. Jameski.
Oh, I think I remember this.
Yeah, he blew up off of like kind of similar content.
Yeah. This was the day after Twomad died. This fucking retard came on.
The day that Twomad died, 10 minutes after we found out.
He's like, now I can finally talk about blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Jesus.
Yes. He said he could finally talk about it. He had a bunch of stuff to say. He said Twomad was a rapist and a pedophile. He said that Twomad had tried to kill him, basically. And he made a lot of crazy allegations. And so he had a bunch of pictures too. So people were like, "Oh, well, this seems like circumstantial proof. Maybe he's going to explain it." And he said he would be elaborating soon with evidence.
Which hasn't happened yet, right?
We'll get into that.
Okay.
We'll get into that.
So,
okay. Damn. There was like a picture of a bullet hole in his window, which it was assumed at the time was from Twomad. There was a picture of a SWAT team outside of a house somewhere, so it seemed like Twomad had swatted him, was the claim. He claimed Twomad had real weapons, and he claimed that there was like a criminal investigation underway separate from the civil case, which was going to close in on Twomad soon. He was going to be arrested, right? He was going to be arrested.
Okay.
Well, everyone on Twitter, basically because of Twomad
being transphobic and all the other dumb shit, and now he's dead, and it's like, yeah, everybody's gonna probably rail on him. Yeah,
they basically believed it, and so that led to a lot of people just pissing on his grave. You know, obviously, to an extent, if you genuinely think someone is a pedophile that's molested a kid, then I can understand that. But there was no evidence of any of this. And James specifically said that he had he had groomed a 13-year-old that was in a psych ward.
Jesus.
So it was a pretty big claim. There was a lot going on. Well, a lot of us are waiting with bated breath for this stuff to come out. And I'm covering on my channel. And eventually I tweeted James. I'm like, hey, man, is this stuff going to come out? Do you want to do an interview? And James messages me, actually. He follows me on Twitter. He shoots me a message. He's like, hey, I've been working on this diligently behind the scenes. We're going to be releasing everything very soon. And I'm like,
how long ago was this?
This was, you know what? I can actually tell you right now. Let's check the DM. This was on the... He messaged me on March 9th, so about a month ago.
Okay.
And
so any second now, all right.
Right. He said, hey, sorry I found out about your tweet long after you posted it. I'm working diligently on a lot of stuff behind the scenes. I had to wait for it to get cleared for me to address it publicly in better detail. I just need a short period of time, and then it should answer a lot of questions and clear confusion. People who claim to have expertise in this are underqualified to talk about it and has been causing more harm than good for the real victims, which I will also be able to address ASAP. And I said, okay, I'm looking forward to that. 5 days later, he messages me. He's like, here, hope this helps with your video. Please don't include names and photos of victims. And he links a Google document. And this Google document is... completely retarded.
Okay.
It's so bad. It's an insane, like it's actually mind-boggling to read through the amount of crazy shit in this Google document. The beginning of it is pretty good. The beginning of it is good. And it basically just goes to show that Twomad was an unhinged person, which we already knew. But he shows multiple clips of Twomad saying things to the effect of, I don't trust myself to not do a crime if I'm going schizo mode on drugs. There's a clip of Twomad on Kanklemore's stream, friend of the show, saying that he might pull a McSkillet. Now, do you know who McSkillet is?
Is it some stupid meme, or is it a content creator or something, or what?
McSkillet was back when CSGO gambling was a big thing. He was the owner of one of these big CSGO gambling sites, and I believe the story is that his CSGO gambling thing got shut down basically. And like the next day, he took his McLaren out. He drove it the wrong way on the highway and incinerated a family in a minivan.
Jesus.
So that's basically what McSkillet did. And so Twomad was saying he doesn't trust himself. Oh yeah, he died and they died too.
A whole family in a minivan with a McLaren? Holy shit. Okay.
He incinerated them. It's like he was going like an insane, like a crazy speed. He basically went on the highway, went on the median, and went the other way and crashed into someone. Like he lost his fucking mind. Okay. And Twomad was saying like, I don't trust myself to not do that, basically, which is totally unhinged. And for that reason, with all the other stuff that Twomad had said and supposedly done, I think Twomad as a person is very hard to defend, and I don't think anyone should try to defend his character on that basis. But James made a lot of claims that he didn't substantiate in this document whatsoever, which is very frustrating. First of all, he said that Twomad was a pedophile, and he said he had groomed a 13-year-old in a mental hospital. That 13-year-old is not mentioned in this document once. She's not mentioned. Also, in this document, his only proof of Twomad being a pedo is that he had made some crazy tweets being like, I need to find and manipulate a young girl. And obviously, that is a crazy thing to say, but it's Twomad. If it was anyone else, I would be like, okay. But it's fucking Twomad, who was clearly saying shit for attention for the explicit purpose of making people mad at him. Yeah. So it's like, I'm not that inclined to think that this is proof that this guy's a pedophile, right? On top of that, he claims a lot of other shit about the investigation, which is, I'm trying to recount as much of it right now as I can. But one of the things he said in this fucking document was that Twomad had several guns in his home, and the police knew, right? They knew that he had guns, which he wasn't supposed to have because of the TRO, and because I don't even think he was a U.S. citizen yet, so he just wasn't supposed to have these guns, right? But he claimed that the police were waiting to arrest him so that they could catch his gun dealer first, so they could close in on him. That's his claim. Okay. And James claims to have intimate knowledge of this. Now, to claim you have intimate knowledge of this, first of all, to have intimate knowledge of a police investigation, I think it's pretty insane. It's not my It's my understanding that the cops typically don't fully explain the inner workings of their investigation to a civilian when this is going on. So unless James is best friends with the chief of police and he has, candlelight vigils to talk about this shit, it doesn't really fucking make sense to me.
Well, or the other alternative could be the cops are contacting you as a witness and asking you questions, so you're kind of like piecing things together that way, maybe. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Maybe.
Otherwise, he shouldn't really know. Yeah.
But typically for stuff like that, the cops, if they think that there's a mentally ill schizophrenic person with a bunch of guns who's threatening people, they're not going to wait to get the guns, right? They're going to go get the guns. Unless this guy is somehow a member of the fucking mafia, okay? Is this like The Sopranos or something? Like, sure. But I don't think that's the case. He also claims Twomad had a separate unmarked car. Like he had a secret Tesla that he had. Okay. No evidence provided for that. And James references an investigation being performed by professionals in real life, and he also claims he spent 6 figures on this investigation. Now, obviously, you don't typically pay the police for something like this, right?
Well, private investigators, you're never paying the cops. You'd be paying a private investigator.
Exactly.
But also 6 figures. This is like an international professional. That's a lie. There's no shot.
The guy still wasn't arrested, though. That's the thing. Well, he claims he spent this much money, and the guy still couldn't get fucking arrested.
I don't know. Can a PI help you get somebody arrested? I think it's usually for personal information that you want, or maybe something for a civil thing. But I don't know because for cops, I don't think they can use evidence obtained illegally, unless the PI is, I guess, getting it through legitimate means. But
yeah, but it's like a.
But also, that's a huge sum of money. There's no shot that he paid over $100,000 for a PI. That's not possible. No. But anyway.
Well, he claims he did. He claims he went into debt. He sold his car for this.
Yeah, he's lying. He's 100% lying. If he's not, you can put out a public statement and prove me wrong with a receipt or something. He's 100% lying about that.
It's pretty nuts. I have a lot of quotes from this document that are pretty fucking funny. There's a lot of stuff. He claims that Twomad threatened his life at TwitchCon, and it wouldn't. Keep in mind that Twomad wasn't at TwitchCon. He claimed that Twomad made ominous, vague threats, and then he believed that Twomad was going to go to TwitchCon to hurt him, right?
Yeah.
Like to shoot up the place or something, or to do something. He actually doesn't say shoot up the place. I think that's a misconception. He says that Twomad was going to go there to potentially hurt him and people there, right? Okay. That he had a deadly vendetta against, as the wording. Now, he claims that the police were aware of the situation, and they sheltered him at a remote location to prevent him from being harmed. And so naturally, the next question would be, if they're sheltering someone at a remote location because they have full belief that this guy his life is being threatened, wouldn't they naturally go and then find the person that did this and try to arrest them if they have it on good authority that this guy is a danger?
I mean, You'd think so, right?
Twomad was never arrested. He has no criminal record. He was never fucking arrested at all. In this document, James claims there's police incompetence going on because they refuse to arrest him. And he doesn't totally explain why, but I've basically pieced things together from what I think happened. But once again, like James in his DM to me was like, this will clear up confusion. I have way more questions now about this document than I've ever had about this, right? I have way more questions. He claims that the police are incompetent because they refuse to arrest Twomad without a court order. And he has a call of him calling the police being like, can you arrest this guy? And they're like, well, we can't just go bust down someone's door. We need a warrant for that, which is what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, but none of this none of this is how criminal anything works. Wait, can you leave me a process on this? Or you don't have to, I'm sorry. Everything that he's saying here is made up. None of this is how any of this works. All of that, everything that was just said is fake. If he's saying that, he's just lying. He's inventing a fantasy because he's watched too much like Law and Order SV or something. But like, you can't call the cops and ask the cops to arrest somebody, or they don't get like a warrant to bust somebody's like door down to arrest them because a citizen called and like, hey, I need you to go do some bullshit. Like, all of this is stupid. But okay, go ahead.
Yeah, but he's claiming the police are incompetent because they didn't arrest him without a warrant. When in reality, it would be incompetence to arrest him without a warrant. Like, that would be the police incompetence, right? If that did happen, then fucking a nuclear missile needs to be sent somewhere, okay? If that was the case, like, it's just fucking nuts.
Sure.
And this document, like, ultimately leaves way more questions than answers, and that's basically the point of my video. Like, listen, Twomad, he was a bad person. I don't think you can defend him. I get why people hate him, but at the same time, this document that Jameski made leaves way more questions than answers, and if he's unwilling to answer a lot of the questions and like prove some of these claims, then like I don't think you should trust him whatsoever. Like, this document means fucking nothing. Somehow everybody has come away with the conclusion Twomad is a rapist and pedophile when neither of those things are substantiated in this document whatsoever. And it's very, very perplexing to me. As for the bullet hole in the window, he has no evidence that was Twomad whatsoever. He just believes it was him. He believes it was him. He has no evidence for that. As for a swatting, basically the house like next to him got swatted, and he assumed that Twomad did the swatting. So that's why he basically claimed on Twitter that Twomad did it. When there's no fucking evidence Twomad did the swatting. If there was, swatting is a criminal offense punishable by law. He would have been fucking arrested. He would be fucking in jail before he died.
A little bit careful with some of your claims, because like he could have really strong evidence that Twomad did it, like we all know, but that might not be enough for like a cop to go after him or something.
Okay,
yeah,
maybe. Where is that evidence?
Well, yeah, I don't know. It sounds like he doesn't have any for anything.
It's not posted fucking anywhere, and so it's like a mind bending situation. So I made a video basically saying like, look, it's too bad that happened, to James, but he needs to provide more evidence for anyone to believe this. Like, there's no way I'm going to believe this. But apparently, he doesn't need to provide more evidence to believe it because everybody just believes it off the fucking bat. And when I made this video, a ton of tweets came out. It was like the day Twomad died, saying they're glad he's alone. He's a rapist. He's a pedophile. Damn. Turkey Tom once again defends the worst person of all time, defends a pedophile. There was one funny tweet, actually. This one was actually funny, but I think it kind of speaks to the kind of perception around me and around this event in general. The tweet basically said Turkey Tom's having a hard time because on one hand Twomad is black, so he wants to hate him. On the other hand, he sexually assaulted a woman, so he has to defend him.
Based? Hello?
That's what I'm saying. I thought that was funny. But there were a lot of tweets just being like, you know what, I'm glad he's dead. I'm glad he's fucking gone. And I don't know. I find it very disturbing that I made this like comprehensive video that seemingly like dissects a complicated situation and like tries to get the true story. And ultimately, like, while I do have questions, I feel like I pieced it together the best anyone could. And then the follow up to that is like, why are you defending a pedophile? Why are you defending a
Here's
rapist?
a question.
There's no evidence of that.
Have you actually covered controversial figures before? And
yeah,
when I say controversial, I mean like controversial. Like, there's people on both sides. Not controversial like DSP and Boogie where like everybody hates them, but controversial where there's like actually strong opinions on both sides.
I have. Mm-hmm. This has been like a disproportionate response, I feel like. This has been another level.
Okay, interesting. Maybe it's just because of the rape aspect and the pedophile aspect or whatever is brought in. Who knows? Plus, you've also got I don't know if you realize it, but you fomented a little hate community or for a while on that YouTube drama subreddit. So there's a lot of people that don't like you because of like racism or whatever. Yeah.
I think a lot of it might be because I've kind of looked into some of the accounts, and I've noticed a lot of the accounts seem to be people who are also upset about the trans comment. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of it might be like they saw the trans thing, they hated him, and then anything after that is just like tacked on to like, now that's the real reason why we hate him. You know what I mean? Like, this is the real justification. But it's I guess it's extremely frustrating to like, I tried to do my fucking journalistic due diligence here, and now there are tweets with like 70,000 likes saying that I'm like basically defending a pedophile. That's not what I'm doing. And even in the video, I'm like, look, maybe Twomad is. Maybe James just made the worst document of all time, and he just didn't prove it for whatever reason. But like, I would just like to know if that's the case.
Most people don't care about that. They're just looking for stuff that kind of like reinforces their narrative, right?
I guess, but it's like extremely frustrating. So I guess my question for you at the end of this is like, how do you deal with these giant narratives about you that just, I mean, they
you just gotta keep making content and keep pushing. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to address something at least once in a live stream or video so that your fans can see it, so that when they defend you publicly, they've got like good things to say. Because obviously your fans are going to be attacked in Twitter threads and whatnot, and they want to have something to say. So it's good to address it at least once.
Yeah.
The internet's memory is like a week long.
Have you found that these like manifestos you've done have like helped, I guess?
I think they've helped significantly, yeah. Absolutely.
Why is that?
A lot of stuff is very emotionally driven, and as time fades, emotions fade, and having a single cohesive document that people can kind of look back on to see what happened really, I think, is nice for the future. I think it also helps in the midst of an event when something is going on. It's nice to do something that allows you to collect all of your thoughts and put together like the most comprehensive, organized defense or accounting of everything that's happened that you can do. Like it forces you to say, what do I have evidence for? What can I prove? How would I source this? How would I present it in a digestible way? That's just an incredibly helpful process for me, rather than trying to like off the cuff, like give a response to something. I did that in my early manifestos. I would like, somebody would say something and I would just like, oh, well, you, I'm going to go live and respond. And I'm kind of like fumbling through it because there's a lot of intricacies and it's hard to bring it up. So just having everything organized in one place, it just gives you an ability to have a more coherent defense that stands the test of time, I think.
I guess it just seems like such a monumental uphill battle when the people who you're arguing against don't even like they're not in a position to listen, and they don't really care.
Yeah, but I mean, if like telling the truth and everything was like easy and got you the most views, then everybody would do it, right? There's a reason the sensational side pays a lot more for a reason. That's why everybody's drawn to it.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. It f***ing blows, and I guess emotionally, part of the also disturbing part about it is, you know, all these people calling him a rapist, pedophile with no evidence. They're also doing it while dancing on the grave of a guy who isn't even in the position to defend himself. Not that if he was still alive, he really would, but you know,
you need to be really careful when you say comments like that. You got to be really careful when you say stuff like that, because you're making it sound like he should be able to defend himself against being called a pedophile or rapist because he didn't do it. That's what I hear. That's not what I hear, but that's what some people hear when you say that. Just be aware. If you want to say that, or that's the message you want to, that's fine. When you say something like that, people hear like, oh, so you think he didn't do it? You think the allegations are bullshit? So that's why he should be like able to respond, and now it's bad that he can't? Like, that's what it sounds like.
I guess the natural follow-up to that would be like, well, it's possible, but like nobody knows.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like that sucks. And, you know, I know that his family saw all of this shit of people pissing on their kid's grave. And you know what? If he was a pedophile and we have evidence for that, then I'm not going to disagree with anyone doing that. But considering that there's no proof of that whatsoever, I don't know. I guess I find it disturbing that his family has to watch him get basically seemingly smeared. And it's like all for what? For like Twitter impressions or something?
Well, that's how it goes. What do people join? What, do you guys have comments or something?
Yeah, I think Dan can go first if he wants.
Let's go.
Well, I would say, you know, there's a very famous quote that says, if you don't want to be criticized, don't do anything new. And it's a lot easier to get traction and viewership and grow your channel and become known when you're doing drama content and doing crazy shit than it is to try and be the next like Mark Rober or the one of those dudes, right? Like, you want to be the wholesome guy who does 100% like content that can never be criticized by anyone, and you're teaching kids science. There's like 5 people in the world that are like that. Everyone else, like, you gotta make a little bit of noise if you want to grow. That's it. And
I guess the thing for me is like I'm okay being criticized. The frustrating thing is just like that the criticism is retarded and like totally just, it's not even like taking me out of context. It's not like I've said something that they're like, oh, look at this. It's more just like complete dismissal, like refusal to listen, and just saying like he defended a pedophile.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I feel like this is like a narrative that, you know, at least in the short term could probably affect people's opinion of me and willingness to watch my work and like even listen, because it's just it's so strong, it's so pervasive, and it's so widespread, and it's like, how do I even begin to tackle this, you know?
I mean, what Destiny said is pretty much what I've learned to be true. Nowhere near the size of you guys, but like, address it, and then like no one's gonna give a shit in a few days. Honestly, they'll be onto something else, and you'll just make something else, and that'll be it. It only feels like a lot of crazy shit just because you're in it right now. But like, think about how you react when other crazy shit comes out for someone else. How long do you actually give a shit, and how much of a shit do you actually give? Like, you've witnessed crazy stuff happen, right? Like,
yeah.
Think about like some of the really crazy shit you've seen happen. Like, how much did you actually give a shit? Like, not really.
It's not an issue of like feeling like public pressure or feeling like my like career is like fucked up right now or something, because I don't think if these people are saying this shit, then they just don't watch my stuff in the first place. It's more a problem of just like, how do I deal with situations like this in a way that it can be productive rather than like reductive for me and my brand and my channel and stuff like that. Like, how do I?
Well, you're gonna have to mix. You're gonna have to mix what you do, which is comedy and truth telling, journalism, and also production value into that somehow. But at the end of the day, if you have to be careful not to. I don't want to say not to touch certain subjects, but like, even coming close to certain subjects, you just get tossed no matter what. Like, if you do a piece on Mr. Girl or one of these other people that are just like so inherently toxic just as a nature of who they are, it's almost like you can't come at it objectively and be like, well, hey, look, guys, like, just because he wrote a song, he's not. The fact of you saying that is just going to get you fucking roasted, just being in there. And there'll be a certain amount of people be like, Turkey Tom, pedophile defender, just as a result of covering that. And there is no way around it. There is no... Yeah, go ahead.
I think when you're doing stuff, you just have to decide like what kind of content creator do you want to be. Like, there are some people who do... I'm not going to say any names because I feel like I don't watch everybody's content. So I don't know. But there are some people who cover like YouTube commentary where they just talk about like interesting YouTubers or kind of like some lol cows or things that have happened or whatever. But it's very sterilized. Like, it'll be people that are universally hated. It'll be over subject matter that's like settled. So you don't have an ongoing debate of did they or didn't they. And it'll be like, it's just kind of like a fun adventure. Like, oh, cool, let's go watch like Into the Mind of this guy, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's fun. When you jump into stuff that's more recent and more controversial, and when the topics are more, they have more gravity, it's like rape and all that shit, you're always going to catch flack from somewhere. And that can be part of your brand. This is Turkey Tom, and he talks about some things that are like ongoing, or it can be like really dicey, but that's going to close you off to some audiences and open you up to other audiences. And then you just have to be ready to fight through that. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. And, ultimately it's like the brand I guess I built myself off is not the family friendly guy who's just willing to always cover stuff that's commonly accepted in the popular zeitgeist.
Sure,
like,
but again, you gotta don't think family friendly, because there's different stuff at play here. So, for instance, you could make a channel where you go over like the top 10 rapists from 2020 and how horrible they all were.
To be clear, I don't mean family friendly. Yeah. I guess what I actually mean by saying that, I guess I misspoke.
Sure.
Is there's a way to talk about things where the situation's already settled and you won't catch any flack for it, and then there's a way to talk about things where you're sort of diving into it, dissecting it, pulling it apart, and you're trying to get at the true narrative. And I know the difference you mean. I mean, someone like Oompaville, like, typically is someone who is going to be just covering things in like, he's not trying to rile anyone up, right? He's just making interesting content that's already kind of settled. Yeah. Versus, once in a while, I'll find a story like with Katie Bugs or with this kind of thing where it's a hotly contested issue and a lot of people are, looking at it, and it's kind of about dissecting the narrative and figuring out what the truth is. And in the process of that, I mean, I find it personally, I don't know, intellectually stimulating or something like that. I find it, enriching to go through it. But, obviously, the audience to a certain extent, I've definitely been rewarded with that. But there's also this, there's this big downside, which is just people saying that you defend rapists and pedophiles. And it's
you also have to keep in mind too,
fun.
another thing that influences what the public is going to respond to this is like pre-existing fan bases as well. So like the super mega topic, that was legitimately a contentious topic. It seems like that might even be similar to what we're talking about here, because you've got guys that are being accused of like sexual assault or pressure or whatever other fucking stupid weird shit that was happening. But the difference there is that one, there's way more hard evidence available for you to go through. Two, it seemed like there was no solid evidence of them doing anything bad at all. So like for Twomad, you've got a difficulty because there's not a lot of hard evidence out there because it was so weird. And two, there was hard evidence of him doing some bad stuff, pretty bad stuff already. And then three, Super Mega had like a giant fan base amongst which you could have this conversation and debate that could be supportive or responsive to new information coming out. Twomad, my understanding, I could be wrong, but my understanding is by the end of Twomad's career, he basically destroyed everything. I don't think he had any fan base at all, did he anywhere?
Did,
yeah. So yeah, all of these things are also like playing into how this dynamic is evolving too. So there's a lot of things you gotta keep in mind here.
Yeah, I guess so. It's just, it's like, people really just want that kind of like very fun, like black and white. Like,
yeah, of course.
He's a rapist or he's innocent. And I mean, like neither is true, but you don't really get a lot of benefit, I feel like, at least in the short term. I don't know. From, let me
doom you a little bit here real quick. You know who the Mark Rober dude is, right?
Yeah.
He's like he makes science videos and everyone loves him, right? Mm-hmm. There's actually people, like there's communities of people that actually hate this guy. I just Googled it. Like, if he has communities of people that hate him, just give it up. You're fucked. You know that, right? Like that dude who makes science videos to like help kids and like feed starving people in Africa. He has haters. Mr. Beast has haters the same way. Vsauce has haters. There is no hope for you ever.
Yeah, but hold on. Turkey Tom's issue isn't having haters. His issue is the type of haters. So, like, if people were to come out and they would say, like, oh, Turkey Tom's video on this subject was dog shit. I don't think he looked into this at all. And I think that, like, he's probably just biased because he likes Twobad's content or whatever, because he grew up watching him. Like, I think Turkey would be okay with that. I think Tom's issue is that people are saying, like, oh, crazy, you're defending a pedophile? Interesting that you think that pedophilia...
That's, like, literally par for the course. Like,
no, well, it is a different type of hate. There's a different type of...
It's a different type of hate because, like, there's nothing substantive to even say to these people that could convince them otherwise. Like there's nothing I can say to them where they'd be like, oh, you're right, because they're not even engaging with the material in the first place. They didn't watch the video,
and there's no element of truth to it as well. So like if somebody said like, oh, like I hate Destiny because he's like like he shouts at people, he calls people retarded or whatever, and it's like, okay, sure, I think it's a dumb reason to hate me, but I can understand that. But it's not like, oh, I hate Destiny because he's a child. It's like, okay, well, that's way different because that's not even remotely true.
But what about if they only saw the clip of you with the little tykes thing and that's all they know? Then you are the child, and that's why they hate you, right?
You completely missed what I said, but sure.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, there you
go.
But for these people, it's like seeing a fucking thumbnail and then just like knowing Turkey Tom bad is enough. I'm sorry, Kelly, you can go.
I'm gonna kill you. So I spoke to you a bit about this yesterday, but I didn't ask, like, how much have you spoken to Jameski or any of the others that sort of gave supporting statements?
Not much. I tried to talk to Jameski. I asked him I said at first I would do an interview publicly, and then I said, can we just have a private call to like talk about this and like try to figure out what's going on so I can better understand it, and he just got nothing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. Have you tried speaking to any of the others that were mentioned?
As far as the others, I mean, I've talked to a few personal friends of Twomad, but Isabella Goldybell, she left the internet. She's totally off, seemingly unwilling to talk to anyone about it. And any of the other people that James named, he kept anonymous for whatever reason. And their details around them are so vague that you can't even begin to guess what is going on here. The only other person that was involved in the initial statement that Jameski made when he said that there was he said that there's a 13-year-old girl in a mental hospital that Twomad groomed. That 13-year-old, I mean, obviously you can't always trust a child as to what they know, but she publicly stated that she had never had any sexual interactions with Twomad. So that's all I have from that.
Okay, why did he get that misconception? Do you know?
Why James got that misconception? I have no idea.
And he wasn't really willing to explain any of this stuff to you?
No. The 13-year-old thing wasn't even mentioned in the document, but it was initially mentioned in his first tweet. So once again, like I don't fucking understand. How can anyone understand?
It would have been fine to say this was probably a mistake and redact it, right? It's just, it is a very long document, so I have...
It's very long. Like, reading through it is extremely frustrating, because once again, like he said, oh, I'm going to clear everything up. and now I have way more questions.
And he's not been willing to talk to you? Have you tried since?
I've messaged him twice asking to have a chat, and he hasn't even been active on Twitter whatsoever. So
yeah,
I
did notice that. I don't know. That is strange. I mean, I don't know him. I know some people that know him. Did you speak to anybody that that backed up that he was being like harassed at TwitchCon? Like, do you know how that would have happened? Like, you mean like he like harassed him online instead of in person?
Yeah, basically, there were a few people who corroborated that James was scared. That's what they said. They said he was scared that Twomad might do something. In the document, his explanation of the TwitchCon stuff was that Twomad made a bunch of basically ominous threats that made him think that he was being threatened, and that's why he was scared that something was going on.
So the threats were made online, most likely.
Correct. No,
okay.
1,000% they were made online because they were in different places. TwitchCon, at that point was in Vegas, and I think Twomad was in California. So.
Okay.
But then he claims that Twomad was on his way to go there, and then he turned around when he realized there was like some kind of police response, and he turned around in his second unmarked Tesla that he secretly owned, Jason Bourne style. Like, once again, there's a lot that isn't proven or explained in this document that I have a very hard time parsing through. And when I've tried to ask Jameski about it. I mean, literally the day the document was posted, I messaged him twice being like, yo, can we have a chat? And nothing.
Yeah, I wonder if he's off the internet because of stress related to this as well. But like, when it comes to the response, what are you bothered by? Is it like community response or is it like peer response?
It's not peer response. I've not gotten any criticism.
Wait, I'm sorry. Hold on. Just as a real quick thing. Wait,
peer.
stress from this is not a legitimate reason to leave. That would like be the least acceptable reason to leave the internet. I don't know why that would ever be like.
Well, I'm not saying whether or not it's acceptable. I'm just speculating on why he's left the internet.
Oh, sure. I mean, I feel like if he knows he's going to drop a huge thing like this, he should be ready to follow it up with something, I would imagine.
But he said in the document, like, this was his final word and he's not going to follow it up. And also he's never going to talk about it on YouTube because that's not the place for it or something, which is just like, fuck off, dude.
Sounds pretty fake, but okay, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard for me to understand what the fuck is going on.
Do the things that relate to the law, are you sure that they're lies versus just a misunderstanding of the law? Because, I don't know.
What specifically?
The thing is, like, we were just talking about when I came in.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of it could be a misunderstanding of the law. And that's basically what I say in the video is, like, there's a few possibilities. One, Jameski's lying. Two, he's really, really dumb and doesn't understand the legal system.
To be fair, a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
Well, true. But if he's making strong statements about it, then I mean that's not really, again, acceptable. Like,
I don't think that's an acceptable excuse. It's just like trying to understand his intentions, I think, is important in the situation.
Yeah, but then also him like getting things wrong about it strengthens the idea that he's just lying, right? Because if he was actually engaging with the system here, he would know not to say these things. He would know how things work for this, right?
Yeah. Someone in chat just asked Tom if he thinks James is a schizo. I mean, not on the level of Twomad, but it seems like he was a pretty paranoid person, considering that he saw a bullet hole in his window and immediately thought Twomad did this, and then had no actual evidence of Twomad shooting a fucking gun through his window. So yeah.
Did he have any other reason for thinking that? Did like Twomad send any messages at the same time as he got a bullet through his window or anything?
Not specifically. Twomad did say a lot of crazy shit. Like, he did say a lot of crazy shit. But there wasn't like a specific DM where he was like, I'm going to go to your house and put a bullet in your window, and then it ended up there. Like, it wasn't anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you say it's not peer response, it's like community response? You're getting like negative comments or something? Or what?
No, it's not negative comments. It's literally just tweets. And it's not like a thing where it's like taking a hit to my ego, but it's just like, how do I dispel this kind of narrative and like just deal with it, you know? I guess is the question, but I guess I've kind of got an answer.
There's also like the fact that, I don't know, is it worth sticking your neck out for this guy in this instance when nobody really knows anything, right?
Well, I guess I didn't see it as sticking my neck out. I just saw it as doing what I always do, which is tell the story.
I mean, if you went further than you are now, I think it was fine to like cover it as a story.
Well, if I were to say Twomad did nothing wrong, then like obviously that would be sticking my neck out, but that's never something I would say because that's just like completely untrue.
Yeah, sure, but like if you feel the need to go into great detail as to why X, Y, or Z may or may not be true. People will see it as a defense of him, regardless of the fact that you think that you're being fair and balanced. I know that seems unreasonable, but it might not help the annoying tweets that you're getting.
Well, yeah. I mean, once again, it's less about the idea of an annoying tweet and it's more about this perception that I defend rapists and pedophiles, which I would never want to do because I'm not a freak. But yeah, I mean, obviously, in these situations, people will come away with some perception of that, especially when it's as contentious as Twomad. The main question I had, going into the conversation here, is basically just how do I counter narratives like this? But I guess I got an answer.
Yeah, you just gotta keep making content and push, I guess, as hard as you think you can against it, and yep, hopefully over time you prevail. That's really all you can do. There's not like a shortcut, easy way to do it. If there was, politicians would implement this to control narratives, or countries would implement this to control narratives. But narrative control is a really complicated thing that you have to fight for a lot.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe I need to have a Discord server and pay more attention to Twitter so I can bully people out of their opinions. I don't know. Maybe that's what I have to do. Maybe.
The most important thing is just, if you do a response, make sure that it's comprehensive, meaning you're responding to everything you feel like you need to. Make sure it's coherent, meaning you've given the evidence that you need to. And then make sure that it's condensed, so just one video. Don't I responded to this point on Twitter, and I responded to this point actually at 6 minutes on my live stream. That make sure it's all in one place. Yeah. So condensed, comprehensive, coherent. Make sure all of these things are met, and then you've got one response. And then if people bring it up in the future, it's easy for your fans or other people to go he did a video on this. Look at this. It's all in here. Boom. And then you're kind of done. And then you move on from it. You just keep making content and go. Yeah. But there's always going to be some level of people.
I'm probably already at that stage because the video itself is that. So
yeah. Oh yeah, and then also stop smoking. That's the most important thing you can do.
You know what? I'm pleased to announce I have not smoked a cigarette in 1 month. Okay?
I don't believe you, but I'm proud of that.
It's true.
How are you trying to quit?
I've been doing Zins.
Oh God, that fucking shit.
What is it? Okay. What the f is that, Dan?
Well, that's like the new hip way of doing it. Back in my day, we had to vape first, and then we had to do the disgusting Walgreens nicotine lozenges. Now you guys just have Swedish
You will never
snooze.
see me exhaling a colored cloud. Okay?
They're not colored. I don't think they've ever been colored.
Any kind of this cloud type thing. I don't f with the cloud thing. Okay.
Why? How is it so much worse or better?
It's fucking gay, dude. It's just gay. It's extremely gay.
I'm a master of quitting cigarettes, by the way.
You're a master?
I've done it 3 times.
Oh, so you didn't actually quit. You just stopped a few times.
Yeah, but now we're done. For real. Here's the thing. If you actually, if you stay off cigarettes long enough, once you're not even addicted to nicotine anymore, so right now you're still in the throes of it. So eventually what you're going to need to do, because I don't think, that shit only comes in 6 milligram, right? The snooze.
I think you can get a higher one, but the one that I have is 6, yeah.
Okay. What you're going to eventually need to do if you want to get off of it, and you might not want to get off of it, I don't know, is you'll need to switch to nicotine lozenges, which they have.
I've had those before, yeah.
Yeah. So you switch from that, and then you go from a 6 to a 3, and it's hard for the first few days, but then you're okay. And then you go from the 3 to a 1.5, and then eventually you're going to a small dosage plus an Altoid or something. And then so eventually that's how I was able to get off of it the last time. And then what you'll find is that after a really long time of not using it, if you do try to smoke again, because there's always going to be that desire, if you do try a cigarette again, all of a sudden it's nothing like you remember, and it tastes like shit. And as long as you don't go for that second puff, it kind of gets associated in your mind that this is actually not that good anymore, at least for as far as cigarettes going. So yeah, that would be my suggestion. So just keep doing what you're doing. I would say especially for cigarettes, don't go back to it, because you probably don't realize how much you smell like shit to everyone around you. No, you can't. No, but they tell you, but you can't possibly know how all-encompassing and horrible the smell of someone who smokes cigarettes is. When they walk in the room, you instantly fucking know. And it's not like a kind of a nice smell, like going for a walk on a nice evening and someone smoking a cigar on their porch. It's not that smell. It just smells like fucking poor white trash, like someone's about to get beaten and NASCAR is going to be on in the background. It's fucking shit, and you can never realize it. So don't go back to it if for any reason of how much you're gonna smell like shit, and no one will tell you.
The worst effect of it has been my car smells crazy. My car smells crazy, and I don't know if it's something I can. I don't even know if I can fix it.
You can. Do you have a nice car? Or do you have a piece of shit?
It's a nice car.
Okay, then the best way to do this, but be careful. Okay, go on Amazon. You want to buy something called an ozone generator. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to leave that in your car overnight running with all the windows kind of shut, and then it should kill out all the smell completely. But do not go in there. That shit can kill you.
Why do you say be careful?
Because ozone generation can kill you if you're in the car with it.
So it's not going to kill me as soon as
if
I
you're
turn
not
it
in
off
the
and get in the fucking car?
If you're not in the car, like, no.
Well, okay, so when I turn it off and then I get in the car, am I going to inhale that shit and die?
Well, I would suggest that first you maybe open the doors and let it air out a little bit. So
okay, and this is a real technique. This is a
real technique. I can actually, there's a guy called Sam Crack. He does car restorations, or I guess you could say that. Basically, he buys cars at salvage auctions and tries to find good deals. So he'll find like a totaled McLaren and then realize, oh, it just needs like this software update in X, and now I have like $100,000 car, right? And one of the videos he did go over was getting rid of the smell of smoke inside of a car, because it is a huge negative. And I'll send you that video.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Dan. I do appreciate that. Now, what were you thinking about with this whole podcast thing?
Where do I put? Where are you watching, by the way? DGG or YouTube? I'll post the link just so you can watch it for later.
YouTube.
Okay. There you go. What am I thinking about for the podcast stuff? I'm not sure. I'm probably going to stop drinking as much as I do during it. But
you want me to come up with like a list of stuff that I'd like to talk about, or do you want to do that?
Wait, is Fergie coming onto an episode?
Do you have things that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, there's always stuff I want to talk about. I guess Erudite messaged me and asked about the beginning of May.
Wait. Which podcast are we talking about here? Are you and Erudite on the same page?
I mean, I guess it's good. Her. It's probably for anything else, unless you think that you have a big political.
She said Bridges.
Why would Erudite be emailing for?
I don't know.
Well, she said Bridges. Maybe anything else too if Dan is down, is what she said.
Oh, okay.
Do you feel like this is a good Bridges guest for you, Steve?
Yeah, of course.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But they can also do both. Oh, yeah. we should have Adam. Adam will be here for a few days. We should absolutely have him.
Adam, your movie sucks?
Yeah, but don't worry about it.
Oh.
That's my friend.
What do you mean don't worry about it?
That's my friend. Don't worry about him.
Okay.
I don't know. The podcast is still like at the very beginning, but honestly, the reception is fucking amazing on it compared to what I thought it would be. Because it really, I mean, a lot of people, the complaints that we get are like, hey, why are you even doing this? This is just literally what you and Destiny normally do, just shitpost on Discord. But it's a little bit different to have it in person. But the views.
Something I've realized through YouTube is that presentation goes a long way with viewership, surprisingly. So people do care about little things like the camera quality being shitty or it not being in a studio or something like that. People take formats and conversations a lot more seriously when it looks nice. So I think there's definitely a benefit to you having like a little studio space where you can record these, because it just, it makes it fresher for the eyes, and people are,
it gives it a different format. It's something for people to tune into that you can kind of make, some sort of event once a week where maybe you hold back on some content or something along those lines. But I don't know. I like that it's kind of unstructured. I like that it's fun. I did a podcast with Steve like 100 years ago, and it was very formal, and we had to go and find guests, and we had to have a big list of topics. Me and Steve had like a admin panel where we would press a button where one of us wanted to ask a question next, so we stopped talking over each other. It was like this whole it was a whole thing, and it was work, and it became less and less fun. And I like the idea that we can just kind of, I don't want to say shit post, but we can go over stuff, have fun.
I mean, that's always been the appeal to this stream stuff anyway, right? It's not that it's like a super rigid format. It's that it's kind of scuffed, but it makes it work.
Exactly. I mean, some of the bigger podcasts out there are not, super segmented. Like, can we introduce some segmented shit? Like, I don't know, gambling on fucking 0 day to expiration calls on Nvidia or something like that. Like, sure. Like, Steven liked the idea of like doing something on Zillow because we're both kind of finance guys a little bit. Or
I think there definitely needs to be like, while you can shitpost and stuff within segments and like before and after, I think there does need to be like a few topics you pick and kind of go deep on. I think that definitely is a thing that people would appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, I saw some people like stop switching around so much. Yeah, I mean,
stop talking over clips.
No, actually, people. I know this sounds counterintuitive, but it's really only content creators that hate that shit. For the most part, I know this is going to seem stupid to you. Fucking dumb YouTube chatters and dumb DGGers love it when you do that shit. And I mean, you can see that more in person when you watch it live and watch live chat reactions. That said, yeah, there's definitely people who fucking hate it, and then there's people who actually fucking love it. It's weird. Like, look at Fresh and Fit with the constant Don DeMarco. Like, they're not doing it for their own benefit. Like, their fucking audience likes it.
I guess I hate that show.
I don't like it either. When I'm watching something and someone's talking over it, I'd be like, shut the fuck up. But there's just different people that do whatever. And also, if I've had a few drinks, I guess I don't give a fuck anyways. But, we'll figure it out. I think the big topic, I already told Steve that we're going to go over, because it's kind of hard for us to find stuff that we massively disagree on, is there was a big hit piece on Dr. K. And this could be a whole video for you.
Isn't this like the third hit piece on Dr. K?
Yeah, but this is one that's credible because it's coming from another
a
YouTube
hit piece,
doctor.
or do you just mean wasn't it a conversation that both of them had?
It seemed to be pretty antagonistic from Dr. Mike to Dr. K. This isn't like a fun
Dr. Mike called out Dr. K? What the poop?
That's what I've been told. Oh. That's why I've been waiting for Steve to watch it so I can watch it with him on stream and then argue with him later on anything else about it. But essentially, there's a lot of reasons to hate Dr. K if you're in my camp. Steven loves the guy, can do no fucking wrong.
It wasn't a hit piece? Yeah, I don't know why Dan is calling it a hit piece. I don't know what he's referring to. Was it a different video? I think he's talking about the conversation the two of them had.
Yeah, I am talking about that. The video between Dr. K and whatever. But there's a ton of people that are a huge fan. Like, even now, if you go in chat, there'll be people that are so mad that you're saying something negative about the guy. And then there's people like, yes, I can't stand that guy. It's it just is what it is. Now, personally, I don't like him, and I think he's doing a bad thing, and that's my take. And then you'll have a lot of people who disagree with that. Steven's one of those people that disagrees with that, and there's a lot of shit to criticize this guy for. And unfortunately, there was like a fucking psyop. Mr. Girl put out like a hit piece, and it's like the worst possible person you ever want to put a hit piece out on anyone, because it's.
I know there was that hit piece, and then there was also a few years ago there was a YouTuber named Slush made a video about Dr. K where he criticized him. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and then I think maybe Chub Logic did something as well on it.
Yeah,
but
is this a good call out? Like, do you think it has merit?
Well, I haven't watched the video yet. I was only told that it's a hit piece. So maybe it's not a hit piece, but, I saw a clip where he was going in on him pretty hard about the Ayurveda stuff. So that's all I've seen is one clip about that. I think that shit is, for the most part, pretty much unexcusable with whatever. I mean, unless we're really going to be accepting, like, crystals and other shit as, like, therapy. But, I mean, whatever. I basically put it, it's like in the same camp for me as like homeopathic shit. So there's that stuff.
Wait, he's gay?
Yeah. He said what?
Just kidding. Wait. Okay. From the podcast, I found out something really crazy.
Sure.
Dan, you're Jewish. What's up with that?
I don't know, man. It's fucking wild. Imagine just being one of the.
Like, imagine being a fucking Jew. What the fuck?
Especially in 2024. Crazy shit.
Yeah, it's kind of late for that. Like, I feel like you should be back with the whenever the Golem was like a meme, like,
I don't know. Like, I feel like maybe the premium years, maybe like the early 2000s, I guess. Somewhere around there.
I feel like Judaism is more of like a 2000 thing. I feel like it's kind of passe.
No, it's always very cool. Except
it's
right now there's a lot of haters. Now I'm only talking about the cool parts. Unfortunately, all the religious psychos, I'm not on board with any of it. Essentially, all the religious shit I think is cringe.
All right, hey, you guys have anything else? Anything else for the three of you guys in here? Because I got like a ton of videos and shit to watch today. We're not talking about anything right now.